Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So, for all you Audie fans, he is sulking. We had a couple of very chilly days, and it was down to the low 30s. That's around zero for our UK friends. We had freeze warnings overnight the last 2 nights, and tomorrow it's going to be 80. So yeah, the weather here is very unpredictable. The cat is irritated with me because I'm letting this happen. I'm not doing anything to ensure that he has nice sunny weather, so he is off sulking. I don't know if we are going to see him. If I had to bet, I would say no, because he's very annoyed by the constant changes in the weather, and he's found a warm spot in a nice ray of sunshine, and I think that's just about all he's asking out of life today. So, we may see him, we may not. We're going to break for the intro, and we'll be right back. So, I thought we would get started by taking a recap of some of the headlines that have emerged over the past couple of days, and let's start with the sock puppet. Apparently, Charles is not planning to meet with his darling boy when he, Charles, comes over to the US at the end of this month. I doubt this is very much a surprise to anyone, given the fact that Trump doesn't think any better of Nutmeg than she thinks of him. So I don't imagine inviting Harry, and of course one would have to invite the little woman along, would go over really well. I personally am not in the least surprised by this decision because Charles is here on business. That's what he's supposed to be doing. However, I would say there is a very good chance we can expect the sock puppet to do some sort of high-profile engagement, partially to snatch the headlines away from his father, which I don't think he can do because this is going to be a meeting of significance simply because of the 250th anniversary of the United States. But far be it from Harry to be dissuaded. I'm sure he will try to steal the headlines, but also because it will give him that sort of plausible deniability. Oh, my pa wanted to meet with me, but I just couldn't because of my prior engagement. And I'm sure his staff is scrambling around right now to secure that prior engagement. Also, and I believe this came out of Hugo Vickers' upcoming book, that the talk is that Harry was reluctant to leave the royal family when he and Nutmeg split. I don't believe that's true at all. I believe that that was simply a turn of phrase in the book. Harry reluctantly left. I do not believe there's any reason to believe Harry was particularly reluctant, but I do think that is plugging into the current media narrative that Harry is desperate to return home. Perhaps he is. If I were him, I would be too, because life in the US has certainly not worked out as well as he expected. We also have headlines that he and Nutmeg are both being shunned by the Hollywood A-listers because of all the drama they generate. And it's interesting because the more stories like this you read, the more you find people actually do want Harry, but it's Nutmeg they don't want. So I think, and this is just a guess on my part, it's not as if I have Harry's private phone number. You know, my name's not G-string and I'm not a British journalist. I think that it's probably certainly starting to begin to dawn on Harry that Nutmeg is more of a hindrance than a help to whatever light he is trying to forge for himself these days. And as we're moving into Nutmeg, she has released some rare video footage of Archie and Lily on Easter. That's the way the media always presents it. Rare photo, rare video. No, there's nothing rare about this anymore. It is as regular as the sun rising in the morning. And that alone is getting very, very irritating, because they're always packaging this as if it is like this exciting new thing. No, Nutmeg does not actually show the children's faces. All we see are, the backs of their heads. Fortunately, it looks like somebody actually did run a brush through Lily's hair, though nobody bothered to take her out of her nightdress and put shoes on her feet. But hey, that's normal for this couple. But no, there's nothing at all rare about this. And I think this packaging is getting really tiring. And I don't think they have the sense to understand that eventually you say rare just once too often, and the public is going to click away, drop the magazine, move on to something else. But the interesting bit about what's going on for Nutmeg is all of a sudden we're starting to hear more of those rumors that she is preparing to write a memoir, although Nutmeg's camp is denying this. Oh, no plans. She is not writing a memoir. That's not in the offing. That's not even on her radar. Yeah, right. Of course she's planning to write a memoir. This is a woman who believes in that bizarre little reality of hers that she is a gifted writer. She has always believed she is a brilliant writer. Of course, she is going to write her memoir. Of course, she is going to tell her tale. She wants her story in her words, which of course, in her own mind, are brilliantly crafted, to get out into the public sphere. She has always been eager to tell her own tale. Now, are people going to be jumping at this? I don't know. Maybe. It probably would sell, if for no other reason than that everybody wants to see what new lies she's telling. But is it going to have any credibility? No, of course not. She has lied about everything. If she does write a book, will I get it? Oh, yes. I will do it on the secondary market. In other words, I will go to eBay or some other thrift books, whatever, some other secondary seller who is not putting a nickel in the pockets of either Nutmeg or her publisher, at least not a nickel of my money, and I will take a look at it. And I will take a look at it with a red pen to correct the grammar and a black pen to underline all of the lies. But do I think that just because Nutmeg's camp is saying this isn't in the offing, that it isn't? No. I believe about as strongly that Nutmeg will tell her own tale and do it in print. I believe that as strongly as I believe the sun will rise in the morning. Yes, of course she will. And now, what I really wanted to talk about, now that we've covered all the headlines, is I've started to notice that other people in the media are beginning to pick up on the fact that Nutmeg and the sock puppet both are in like a complete regression mode. I haven't heard anybody refer to it as regression yet, but people have alluded sort of obliquely to the fact that Harry's not moving forward. We know this. Harry is still suing the media. He is still suing for his security. These are things he was doing like 5 years ago. His first security lawsuit was filed in September 2021. And I say lawsuit because the truth is I'm just using that as a catch-all term, because I believe what it is a legal request for a security review, which colloquially we can refer to that as a lawsuit, but I do not believe that's how the British courts are viewing this. But it has been going on since September 2021, 4 years, 4.5 now. And he's not giving up. He is like a dog with a bone. You just don't dare try to take it from him. And, of course, he has his suits against the media. And he started off with defamation. He started suing one of this various mail group publications when he had asked for that security review, and he decided to sue them for defamation because they had challenged his claim that he said from the beginning he would pay for the security himself. And of course, he didn't. That suit was thrown out, but he's gone back for more. And the fact is, no, he did not say from the get-go that he would pay for security for it all by himself. Just give me the security and I'll write the check. No, he didn't say that. And even if he had said that, it's of no consequence. He's looking for police security from official British law enforcement agencies, and they are not for sale. You don't just get to write a check to Scotland Yard and say, I'd like to use your force as rent-a-cops. Come and provide security at my granddaughter's quinceañera. Come and provide security at the family picnic at the beach. That's not how it works. And although, to be fair, I do have to say this, that's probably how Harry thinks it works, because he is not too sharp, is he? So he's been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, just continually going after the security, going after the press through legal processes. No forward momentum here at all. He is not doing anything new with his life. Nothing constructive is happening. Same rut, like a record that just keeps skipping and skipping and skipping. Meanwhile, Nutmeg is actually in regression mode. So Nutmeg comes to the U.S. back in 2020, and she seemed to be convinced that Hollywood would throw its doors open to her. And to be fair, she did in fact get a voiceover from Disney, which is acting work, no two ways around that. But it turned out to be kind of a disaster, and Disney has not invited her back. So, were there acting roles? No, it didn't happen. No one wants her. The truth is, she saw this coming back in the mid-2010s. And that is why she started the TIG, why she decided that her future was in being a social media influencer. Remember, in the mid-2010s, that's when this social media influence culture was really coming to the fore. It's been with us for about 10 years, when people started to realize there was a tremendous amount of fame and money, and gosh, those are Nutmeg's hot buttons in the sphere of social media influence. It's been estimated that the revenue she got from the TIG was somewhere around $80,000 a year, and this would have been 10 years ago. I don't know if this is true, but the money would have come from endorsements and brand deals. Not a great deal of money given Nutmeg's lifestyle, but I think most of it would say, well, you can quit your day job, for that kind of social media influence income. Not good enough. But she did try this. She put the TIG out in 2014 while she was on Suits in order to further monetize that platform that she had. The Suits had fans, and those fans would look for inside information on the show. They would, basically they were social media junkies. So she wanted to monetize that, and that's what the TIG was all about, presenting this lifestyle brand of, oh, look at me, I have this ultra luxe lifestyle. It's travel, it's fine wine, it's fancy entertaining, and whatever. The TIG never really had a lot of substance to its content. It was mostly just Nutmeg's random thoughts on how to live an elegant life. She did occasionally interview people, which had the dual benefit of enhancing the TIG with a more famous name than hers, and enhancing her by association with these more famous people. But that's what she was doing from 2014 to 2017, because when she was on Suits, she had hit her career peak. She had nowhere to go but down. At the point at which she started the TIG, now as I say, 2014, other offers were not coming her way. She clung to Suits, obviously, because that was her claim to fame, but it had not resulted in other offers. She did a few little rom-coms, and she had walk-on parts in motion pictures, but it wasn't leading to anything substantive. It was just Hallmark, made-for-TV movies, basically. That was where she was peaking. So she needed to move into some other arena. I think the TIG was her first effort at moving into that as a next step from Suits. Because I have to be careful about this, because was it her first effort at blogging? No. That Working Actress blog was her first effort at blogging. Remember what I said before. She thinks she's a great writer, and Lord, she loves her own words. So this was actually her second effort in the blogosphere. But this was the start of her What Do I Do After Suits? And this is also the point, and we have this from Tom Bauer's first book, Revenge, where he documented most of this. She was seeking another platform. She was looking to marry a famous man, marry an athlete, a celebrity, a Brit. Victoria Beckham was basically just her bodhisattva over this. She truly was following, Posh Spice's footsteps. Now, what we see is she's clearly given up on Hollywood, and now she's back into the influence mode. So Harry has never moved forward. She seems to have tried to move forward, but now she's going back into that little groove on that skipping record where she is comfortable, which is social media influencer, going to Australia and essentially selling her company, her signature, for money. Oh, and by the way, I've heard numbers bandied about indicating that she was being paid $1 million for this weekend. That seems very unlikely, and the reason I would say this is do the math. They have a facility that can hold 300 people. The top tier of payment for the privilege of sitting with Nutmeg and being in a group photo is just below $3,000. $3,000 times 300 people, so I'm giving her every benefit of the doubt because many of the tickets sell for less, does not equal $1 million. And the social media influencer from Australia who is sponsoring this, yeah, I don't think she has enough money to cover that deficit, which would be at least $100,000, because she has a bankruptcy in her past, and one would, well, allegedly, she has a bankruptcy in her past, and one would assume if she could get her paws on that money, that the bankruptcy wouldn't have been necessary. So I would have to say $1 million, no, I think that's a pipe dream. But is she getting paid for this? Oh, Lord, yes. That should be pretty clear to everyone. This is a commercial venture, and it is the kind of meet and greet commercial venture that social media celebrities do, because A-list stars do not do this sort of thing. That they have sort of elevated themselves above this. This is the kind of thing that people on their way down do when stars, former stars, will show up at conventions, go into booths and sign autographs. Yeah. So for Nutmeg, absolutely, this is a complete regression. She is back to doing what she did before she hooked up with the sock puppet, while the sock puppet, meanwhile, is in the same spot he was in 5 years ago and can't seem to advance out of it. Which just goes to show that they both would have been much better off if they had stayed with the royal family. It was a rank in terms of social significance that neither one of them really merited by any inherent value they bring to the table. The sock puppet was born into it, Nutmeg married into it, but it would have been a lucrative gig for them, and frankly, it would have given Nutmeg all the fame and adulation she could ever want. But she threw it away because it had never been anything more than a stepping stone. And this goes back to things I have been saying right along, that although I believe Nutmeg can plan in the short term, she is no long-term strategist. So yeah, that is my opinion, that instead of even taking a single step forward, they are either standing still or moving backwards. And I think as we look at them going forward, this is about all we're going to get. Nutmeg in the realm of social media and the sock puppet negotiating his way through lengthy, expensive, and frankly, boring court cases. All right, that is what I have for you today. Thank you all for being with us. I hope to see you again next time. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.